In the amazing digital circus, you have a colorful, impossible virtual world to explore. And as you strike out on your weird adventures, the weirdness of it also slowly causes your mind to break in the horrifying disintegration known as abstraction. Until then, your time in the circus is spent waiting.
Waiting to keep an appointment with doom.
A horrifying fate that anyone would want to escape, Abstraction is mourned as a kind of death by all the characters except Kane and Bubble, and possibly Jax. But how close to death is it? What is it? In this video, I'll answer both those questions based on what we already know from episodes 1 and 2. However, what we know so far raises even more questions, so I'll also share my own theories. Episode 2 of the amazing digital circus reveals that for the characters in the circus, abstraction is seen as a kind of death. As Ragatha tells Pomni, we like to have a little funeral service for people who abstract. And Kinga adds, it's the least we can do to honor their memory. And so they have a funeral to honor the memory of Korfmo. In episode 1, before they know Korfmo is abstracted, Kinga warns he thinks Korfmo's gone insane. In Kinga's words, last time I spoke with him, he was rambling endlessly about some exit. Kind of like you, Pomni, you might be going insane too. Later in episode 1, Ragatha states outright to Pomni that abstraction is what happens in a circus when you reach your breaking point. Reading between the lines, it's likely Kinga suspected Korfmo may have abstracted, which is why he avoids him. Abstraction is dangerous. When Korfmo attacks Ragatha, she starts to glitch like a corrupted file. And when Pomni reaches out to try to help Ragatha, Pomni's hand starts to glitch too. It seems Pomni could more or less ignore her glitching hand as a mere inconvenience. For Ragatha, however, glitching all over hurt. Ragatha is not subtle about this, literally groaning, "I am in so much pain," as she drags herself towards the others at the end of episode 1.
She needs help badly.
Luckily for her, Kane can fix her and Pomni's hand with a snap of his fingers. Kane then whisks Korfmo into an eerie chasm filled with other abstracted entities. So I'll summarize 5 things we've learnt thus far. 1. Abstraction is treated as a kind of death by the characters trapped in the circus. 2. Abstraction is dangerous, capable of causing terrible pain to the characters living in the circus. 3. The pain seems to happen when the characters start glitching uncontrollably, although a minor glitch like Pomni had in her hand doesn't seem to hurt. 4. It's outright stated that abstraction happens to characters in the circus that reach their, quote, breaking point. This seems to refer to when characters can't take the mental strain of the circus, which would explain why Kinga stayed away from Korfmo once Korfmo started rambling endlessly about an exit. The mental aspect seems even clearer after episode 2, where we saw Ragatha shrug off getting impaled through the chest. Their digital bodies can be fixed, but it seems their minds are far more fragile. 5. After abstracting, a character still seems to be alive. They seem to exist in the dark vault Kane has hidden away somewhere, a creepy kind of pocket dimension. At the beginning of this video, I asked 2 questions. How close to death is abstraction? And what is it? Well, as far as we know, it's not quite death, despite the funerals. It's even possible that Kane could restore Korfmo and the others with a snap of his fingers, but chooses not to. More on that later. What abstraction is the bigger question that's more difficult to answer. I think it's safe to conclude that when characters reach a mental breaking point, when their minds can't cope with the circus anymore, that's when they abstract. So abstraction is a mental breakdown followed by a physical breakdown that can spread glitches throughout the circus, including the other characters. In a way, abstraction is like a disease that starts in the mind but can harm other characters once it becomes physical. And once a character abstracts, they are then mourned by the other characters, and while they still exist, they are essentially dead to the main characters, at least for the moment. But this answer just raises more questions, so time for some theorizing and speculation. If the main characters are real people, how can abstraction completely warp them the way it did with Korfmo? Think of it this way, if Korfmo put on a VR headset like Pomni says she did, and found himself with a digital body in the circus, How would his mental state in the VR headset cause him to abstract? If trying to unravel the dark secrets of abstraction, I were to go insane writing this script, the script itself would still be there, it wouldn't change. So why does Kaufmo's digital body change? Now I suppose it's possible Kaufmo's VR headset has implants, cyberpunk style implants that somehow connect to his brain and can manifest his insanity as abstraction based on the rules of the circus, or possibly a flaw in how the circus is set up. However, a simpler explanation is that all the characters in the circus are digital files that were copied by very advanced VR headsets. This explains a lot about abstraction. It explains why Kaufmo abstracts when he loses his mind. If he is a copy of a real person mapped onto a digital avatar, when the digital file that is his personality is warped by an inability to cope with the bizarre events in the circus, his digital avatar is warped too, like a file corrupting, and he becomes abstracted. And like a virus spreading through a system, he causes glitching when he comes into contact with other characters like Ragatha and Pomni, or even the two-headed Gloink Queen Kane created for Pomni's first adventure. So according to my theory, when Kaufmo abstracted, it wasn't exactly a human being reaching breaking point. It was a digital file getting corrupted. No flesh and blood human is quite designed to endure the surreal madness of the digital circus, and so even edited digital copies of real humans will eventually break down, become corrupted files, and abstract. But remember, this is just my theory. Anyway, this is why I wonder if Kane can bring back characters who have abstracted, so I'll leave you with a theory that creeps me out a little. Once they've passed their breaking point, the characters can't function in the circus anymore, and they abstract and disappear into Kane's creepy black chasm. But if the characters are digital files, what if Kane can restore them to an earlier version? What if he could bring Kaufmo back without any memory of the circus to start over again? What if Kane has done this before? He could have two versions of the same character living in the circus, and they wouldn't know it because they're always given random new names and seem to only have hazy memories of a previous life. One character could be watching another version of themselves slip into madness and abstract without knowing it's inevitable that it will happen again. That wraps up my thoughts about abstraction. If you enjoyed my take on the inevitable doom facing the characters of the amazing digital circus, you can help the channel by liking and subscribing. Thank you to those of you who have subscribed already. Have a great week and thank you for watching!